Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are witnessing a moment that could redefine the entire course of the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine attacks Russian energy, a turning point in the war. These words are not an exaggeration, and they are not just for dramatic effect. What is happening right now goes far beyond explosions and headlines. It reaches into the heart of how modern wars are fought, financed, and sustained. For a long time, this conflict followed a pattern the world had grown used to. Russian missile strikes on Ukrainian cities, Ukrainian air defenses scrambling to intercept, brutal fighting on the front lines, drone footage from trenches, maps slowly changing meter by meter, but suddenly something changed. Ukraine stopped playing only defense and began striking at what truly keeps Russia's war machine alive: energy. Energy is not just fuel. Energy is power in every sense of the word. It powers tanks, aircraft, factories, communications, and economies. Without energy, armies stall, governments struggle, societies feel pressure from within. Ukraine understands this reality deeply because it has lived through it. For years, Russia tried to weaponize winter against Ukraine. Power plants were bombed, substations destroyed, entire cities plunged into darkness and freezing temperatures. The strategy was simple and brutal: break civilian morale, overwhelm repair crews, and force political concessions through suffering. Ukraine survived those winters through resilience, foreign support, and sheer determination. Now the tables are turning. Ukraine's recent strikes on Russian energy infrastructure are not random acts of revenge. They are calculated, deliberate, and strategic. Oil refineries, fuel depots, power facilities, and critical energy nodes have become primary targets. Each strike sends a clear message: Russia's ability to sustain this war is no longer untouchable. This shift matters because Russia's economy and military are deeply intertwined with energy. Oil and gas revenues fund the state budget. They pay for weapons, salaries, propaganda, and repression. Even under heavy sanctions, energy exports have remained one of Moscow's strongest sources of income. As long as that flow continued, Russia could absorb losses on the battlefield and keep going. Ukraine's strategy aims to change that equation. When an oil refinery is damaged, the impact is immediate and long-lasting. Fuel production drops. Transportation becomes more expensive. Military logistics face delays. Repairs take time, money, and specialized equipment. When power infrastructure is hit, factories slow down. Communication networks become vulnerable. Even civilian life feels the pressure, and that pressure eventually reaches political leadership. These attacks force Russia to make difficult choices. Should air defenses protect cities, military bases, or energy facilities? Should resources be spent repairing damaged infrastructure or producing new weapons? Every decision creates vulnerabilities somewhere else. This is what makes energy warfare so powerful. It stretches the enemy thin. Ukraine's ability to carry out these strikes also tells an important story about how far its military capabilities have evolved. Early in the war, Ukraine relied heavily on short-range defenses and limited strike options. Today, Ukrainian forces are using long-range drones, precision weapons, and sophisticated intelligence to hit targets once thought to be safely out of reach. These are not symbolic attacks. They are proof of adaptation and innovation under pressure. The psychological impact inside Russia should not be underestimated either. When energy facilities deep within Russian territory are hit, it challenges the narrative of security and control promoted by the Kremlin. Ordinary citizens begin to feel the war in their daily lives. Rising fuel prices, power disruptions, and economic uncertainty slowly chip away at the illusion that the conflict is distant or manageable. History shows that wars are often decided not only on the battlefield, but in the minds of the population. At the same time, Ukraine is sending a message to the world. It is demonstrating that it is not merely surviving, but actively shaping the conflict. This strengthens Ukraine's position diplomatically. Allies see a country that uses support effectively, strategically, and with clear objectives. That matters when military aid packages are debated and political will is tested. However, this turning point also carries serious risks. Attacking energy infrastructure is a form of escalation. Russia may respond with intensified strikes on Ukrainian cities, harsher tactics, or broader attacks. The danger of retaliation is real, and Ukraine's leadership understands this. But war is about choices, and sometimes the cost of not escalating strategically is even higher. Ukraine appears to have calculated that striking Russia's energy sector now creates more pressure than restraint ever could. Timing is critical here. These attacks are happening as Russia faces growing economic strain, manpower challenges, and increasing reliance on wartime production. By targeting energy at this moment, Ukraine is exploiting a window where damage can ripple through multiple systems at once. Energy disruptions affect not just the military, but also industry, transportation, agriculture, and exports. Each sector depends on stable power and fuel supplies. When those supplies are threatened, the entire system feels the shock. This is why analysts are calling it a potential turning point. If Russia is forced to divert significant resources to protect and repair energy infrastructure, its offensive capabilities may weaken. If fuel shortages emerge, mobility suffers. If export revenues decline, funding the war becomes harder. None of these effects end the war overnight, but together they can shift momentum. War is often described as a contest of endurance. Who can last longer? Who can absorb more pain? Energy attacks directly challenge Russia's endurance. There is also a symbolic dimension to this shift. For years, Russia portrayed itself as an energy superpower, using oil and gas as tools of influence. Ukraine's strikes undermine that image. They show that even strategic assets are vulnerable even inside Russian territory. For Ukraine, this represents a form of strategic parity. If Russia can strike Ukraine's power grid, Ukraine can strike back at Russia's energy heart. International reactions to these attacks are complex. Some countries worry about escalation and global energy markets. Others see Ukraine's actions as a legitimate response in a war imposed upon it. What is clear is that energy has become a central battlefield, and this will shape diplomatic conversations going forward. Markets react to instability, prices fluctuate, governments reassess risks. The war's impact extends far beyond the front lines. Another important aspect is how these attacks affect morale within Ukraine. After years of defense, loss, and sacrifice, the ability to strike back in a meaningful way boosts confidence. It reinforces the belief that victory is possible, or at least that defeat is not inevitable. Morale is not a minor detail in war. It influences recruitment, resilience, and public support. Ukraine's leadership appears to be betting that sustained pressure on Russia's energy sector will accelerate internal strain. Economic pressure can amplify political tension. Repair costs add up. Insurance risks increase. Investors hesitate. Over time, these factors can erode stability from within. Of course, Russia is not powerless. It has reserves, alternative routes, and the ability to adapt. It will attempt to harden defenses, disperse assets, and retaliate. But adaptation itself consumes resources and attention. That is the essence of Ukraine's strategy: force Russia to react constantly. As this phase of the war unfolds, one thing becomes clear. The conflict is no longer confined to trenches and front lines. It is a battle of systems, energy systems, economic systems, political systems. Ukraine's attacks on Russian energy infrastructure represent a shift towards strategic warfare aimed at the foundation of power rather than its surface expressions. Whether this truly becomes the decisive turning point will depend on many factors: the scale and sustainability of the attacks, Russia's response, international reactions, and the evolving situation on the battlefield. But one thing is undeniable: the rules of the game have changed. Ukraine has signaled that it will not wait passively for the next missile strike. It will shape the battlefield, choose its targets, and challenge Russia where it hurts the most. As the war enters this new phase, the world is watching closely. Energy, once a tool of Russian influence, has become a vulnerability, and in modern warfare, vulnerabilities are opportunities. This moment may be remembered as the time when Ukraine transformed the conflict from survival to strategic pressure, from defense to calculated offense. Ukraine attacks Russian energy, and with those attacks, the future of the war enters uncharted territory. Stay with the channel, because this story is far from over, and the next developments could redefine everything we thought we knew about this war.